The theme of my articles this year was inclusion. I specifically picked stories that show how deaf are included in society or events that help promote deaf inclusion. No doubt there is discrimination against the deaf in our society, but I wanted to focus my events on the inclusion of the deaf that often gets forgotten in the midst of all the discrimination. My November article was about a man who was trying to help raise awareness in gangs of deaf people and their use of American Sign Language due to many misunderstandings between gangs and deaf people signing. My December article was about a deaf janitor at the New York Public Library. He is one of their hardest workers, and he is one of the most popular employees at the library. He trains hearing people and is a perfect example of a deaf person who can do anything a hearing person can do. My January article was about a restaurant in Gaza that only hires deaf employees. Gaza has a fairly large deaf population, and they are taking the necessary steps to help include them. My February article was about a fake deaf lottery scam. The author of this article was trying to raise awareness and protect deaf people from these scams. My March article was about ISIS recruiting deaf people to come fight. They say that the deaf are not disabled and that they don't believe that a lack of hearing is enough to keep them from joining. My April article was about a deaf pride parade in Washington, D.C. People all came and gathered and marched to help spread deaf awareness and share the deaf culture with the community. It brought a lot of media attention to the deaf community. For the most part, all of my articles have to do with events or people that are examples of deaf inclusion in society. My favorite article is the one about the deaf janitor at the library because it shows how people who didn't really know him were worried about how it would be to work with him, but once they got to know him, they really enjoyed his presence. Overall, I learned that although there is discrimination going on towards the deaf, there's also many examples where the deaf are included in society, and these should also be shown. I appreciate learning about the good things that happen in society because we often only hear about the negative and bad things that happen. This will help me later in life because I will be able to learn from these articles and inform other people about deaf culture and sign language. I hope that in the future it will be easier to find articles about inclusion than discrimination. It seems that there's a lot more articles about discrimination, and I hope that in the future media will focus more on inclusion than discrimination. I also hope that I can help inform people and change their views about deaf people.